Welcome. I'm Star Fuentes. Welcome to Crystal Skull School. Today, I would like to talk about respect with your skull, the many different things that are needed, the directions, the time of year, and aligning your skull with the best possible energies in your home, on your altar, or wherever you're working with your skull. So one of the things we know is that we never cover the face of the skull. When we handle the skull, we handle it from the bottom and from the sides. Sometimes skulls need to be faced in a particular direction. And go to the dollar store, get yourself a small compass. It is important in your rituals, it is important in your magic to know where the directions are. When a skull aligns with north, it has a vibrant, integrating energy. North is associated with winter, and winter is about integrating, it's about slowing down, it's about processing all the things that happen all year. When we turn the skull to the west is spring. It represents spring, and it's budding new things, it's regrowth, it's a magical change of colors. And when we place skull to the south, it represents summer. It's about fruition, it's about the plants growing, it's about love and the summer heat and the ability for you to enjoy life, weather, and the planet. When we go to the fall, it's about harvest. It's about collecting all of the things you did this year. It represents the fruition of all of your deeds. So why is this important? Well, when I ask a question to the north, and I say, what do I need to know about my business? What do I need to know about my lover? What do I need to know, God forbid, about winning the lottery? The North will tell you what needs to be integrated. When your skull faces north, it will show you, tell you, let you sense what is needed. When we go to the spring and we face the skull to the west and we ask questions like, how do I grow my business? How do I grow my relationship? What spark do I need to fire up? And you ask questions of something that is started or just starting to be. And when we go to the summer, we ask quality of life questions. How does the quality of life need to be changed? Do I need to work more? Do I need to play more? Do I need to work smarter? Do I need to work harder? Turn your skull to the east, and we will be asking questions like, how do I collect people who aren't paying me bills? How do I collect? How does my vision of getting more paying clients? And the same thing with esoteric energies. Now, skulls are very picky. As you notice, I have several dozen skulls behind me. Some skulls like to be the leader of the group. And if you face them to what I call the audience, some skulls don't like to speak in front of groups. Take a piece of paper, make north, south, east, and west directly equal to your north, south, east, and west, and set the computer, can also set the computer to show the energies, and there are several programs you can get. And the energy will be either higher on north, south, east, and west. So your skull, each individual skull, will align with something, an energy. It will align with facing your altar, side to your altar. And we put it down and give it a minute or two, give it a minute or three before you decide. And whether you are a visionary, an auditory, kinesthetic, or a knower, you will know at this point in time what direction empowers your skull. So let's take a deep breath. This is Helios, by the way. He has a lot of rainbows. He communicates with me an average of 1 out of 3 times, and sometimes he lets me wait for the answer, and the answer will come to my subconscious or conscious mind when I'm doing something, cooking in the kitchen, reading a book. Do not expect your skulls to give you the answer right away. So it's very important. And watch how your skull reacts. Do not cover its eyes. Do not cover its third eye. Don't cut off its connection to source. You know what I mean? Don't stick your hand on its mouth. How do you expect to receive a communication when your mouth is covered on your skull? Be respectful. Hold it at the temples. Chelating energy means that from one hand to the other hand, you run energy. So you can run a color, you can run an herb, you can run an angel, you can run an ascended master, and you'll know, and I don't know how you'll know, but you'll know whether this skull likes ascended masters, whether this skull empowers itself with angels, whether this skull likes blue, whether this skull likes any particular color. Now, I suggest you start with the 12 basic colors. Although in light language, advanced light language, we teach 144 colors. And during COVID, I had lots of time to be able to check what color, what direction the skull resonates. Now, if you go through major life change, someone dies in your family, you're changing jobs, you move, different things that are on the spectrum of stress. And number 1 is moving, and equal to the death of a parent or a child or a lover. Get that stress chart and look it up. Because at that point in time, they all change directions. All of a sudden, your skull, who used to never want to see the audience, wants to see the audience. And what I mean is the other skulls, crystals, and holy objects in your room. To make things powerful, make sure that your metaphysical tools, your herbs, your flower essence, your crystals, your tuning forks, make sure that the skull can see them, because it can enhance your answer and enhance your experience with the skull. So when the skull tells you its name, It can tell you letter by letter, H, 2 days later, E, 3 or 4 days later, Helios, it can tell you. It can tell you in a split second. It can tell you by having a friend come over and say, oh, that looks like a, whatever the name may be. Once the skull tells you its name, especially if you hear something like Sam or Frank or Mary or Kathy, you want to rebel against the name. Naturally, you say, I want it to be Avatar of the Stars, Captain of the Universe. You always, your ego will play into it and say, oh, but that's not good enough. That's not high enough for my skull. It is. If your skull's named Frank, that works on many levels. It may be Frank to you, Frank, with your answers, and a skull's name will resonate with you. If you forget the skull's name over and over again, oh, what's that one's name? I want you to know that that is not the name of your skull. It's important that usually with picking it up, usually when being around that particular skull, you remember its name. And in one of my little workbooks, I got a nice little chart, the name of the skull, the direction it likes to face, the things that are going on with it. It's a nice little chart. You can fill one in, especially when your skulls multiply like me. My skulls just kept growing and growing, and a lot of them, I'm caretaker for other people for them. But they kept growing and growing till they got into the several hundreds. And I kept a chart of what its name is, or not to be named, named by owner, et cetera, et cetera. Now, where you live, how you live, and in an environment you live has a lot to do with your skull. First, there are ley lines underneath the earth that will ask your skull to align with the ley lines that you point the head. So I live in Hot Springs, Arkansas, and there's 80-mile line of crystals that go through Hot Springs and all up and down Arkansas. And my skulls don't tend to be in any particular direction, and they're in an odd direction, but they align with the ley lines. You will find if you have a well or a big water line running underneath your house, your place of business, that at moments your skull will want to align with the flow of water that is going underneath you. They also will want to align with electricity if there's a wire running underneath your floor. Fortunately, my house is built on bedrock so that there's no plumbing or wiring running underneath me. Owning a skull can be very easy. You can put it up on the shelf and forget about it. You can see it with your eyes and say, oh, that's my skull. But I don't expect somebody who isn't my friend to answer intimate questions like, how do I get more cash? How do I love my husband better? I don't expect strangers to become intimate with me. When you're asking questions for yourself, for your clients, when you're channeling from a skull, the need for intimacy is there. In my book, the Crystal Skull Workbook, I have approximately 100 exercises for you to become intimate, for you to align with your skull, and for you to get your skull in alignment with you. Know this. Remember, this crystal in a radio can take AM and FM channels. This crystal can tune to whatever it wants interdimensionally, any place in the universe, any oversoul, any ascended masters, any saint, any angel. A level of intimacy is important. Thank you.